Hang on just a second.
Order. We are at approval of agenda. Does anyone have any additions, changes to the agenda? I do have one to report on the consent agenda. This is under policies, rehabilitation services. The pelvic physical therapy program, are pulling that from the consent agenda and it will not be considered tonight.
I make a motion to approve it as amended.
Actually, we're not on,
Oh, we don't have to make any.
we're talking about the agenda itself.
Okay,
Do you want to make the motion to approve the agenda
yes, but as amended.
with, as amended? Perfect.
That's what I said.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Any other discussion? I'll need a second.
I'll gladly second, Ross.
Thanks, Brad. Do we have to do a formal vote on this?
We had a motion and a second.
Okay. Director O'Connor, your vote.
Yes.
Director Parks.
Yes,
Director Clark.
Yes.
Director Blythe.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. And, Director Parks will lead us in the flag salute and Director Elconin will lead us in an invocation.
please push it. And the hard repeat with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, I just want to come before you and thank you for so many things in my life and the ability to be able to be on this committee for the hospital board. Lord, I just want to thank you for the topics that we already have discussed and that the ability for us to voice our opinions and not be personal, Lord. I just thank you for that. I ask that you be with us tonight as we continue on the hospital business. I ask that you give everyone peace of mind, calmness of heart, Lord. And I just want to thank you for us to have this facility here, Lord. It's greatly needed in this community. And I want to thank those that aren't at the meeting, but those that do lots of work to help support this facility. I just ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This portion of the meeting is set aside for public comment. Any member of the public is welcome to address the board on matters that are under our jurisdiction, but not on tonight's agenda. Do we have any member of the public who'd like to be heard? Okay, seeing none. And we'll move on to the closed session report. And I will refer to our attorney, Mr. Nave.
Yes, in closed session, the board discussed two items. First, it conducted an evaluation of the CEO's performance, and Chief of Staff Finstead gave a medical quality report. No other items were discussed and no action was taken.
Thank you. Okay, item F, the consent agenda. All the items listed here, except the one we removed, are considered by the staff to be non-controversial and routine. And the board will approve these all in one motion, in one action, unless a member of the public or a member of the board or staff would like an item removed from the consent agenda so that we can discuss it in its normal order. Do we have any items to be removed from the consent agenda other than the pelvic physical therapy program item?
I just had a quick question on the Gary Hicks letter agreement, pages 47 and 48.
Okay, we'll remove that, John.
Okay.
And we will put this right after the Tri-Send report, following item G. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any others?
Make a motion, we accept it as, I hate to keep doing it, but I want to.
No, thank you, please. So Gene's made a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll second, Ross.
Thank you, Fred. Director O'Connor, your vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Director Parks. Director Clark.
Yes.
Director Blythe.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The consent agenda is approved. So that brings us to item G, Tri-Send Cap X program, split dollar for short. And we have a consultant zooming in, David Wright. And David, if you could just give kind of a brief overview of what this is about and what you've come up with your numbers.
Happy to do it. Good evening, everybody. Maybe helpful if I show my screen, if that's acceptable.
Please.
That's showing up. Do you folks see a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Most of it.
We can see we can't see the full screen. There we go.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Well, this, again, thanks for having me tonight. This is a split dollar plan that's being considered for Mr. McGlue. It's designed to retain him for a number of years until his retirement. And it's built on what is known as a split dollar structure, which is essentially a way in which the benefits and obligations associated with life insurance policies or policies in plural as well are shared between two parties, typically an employer and employee, very common situation. And so what we've done here is put together a proposal where we've solved for a particular retirement benefit for Mr. McGlue and then solved for the amount of capital from the hospital district that would be required to make that happen. But it's built on this structure. And again, just a quick overview. The hospital district will fund the plan either upfront or over a period of time, depending on what's decided. A portion of those funds will go into a repayment policy that will repay the district all of its capital plus a rate of return. And when Mr. McGlue passes, the remaining capital goes into the accumulation policy, which is an asset that he can access, on which he can access value during retirement. And we projected out a 15-year period where he can access some cash flow for those future purposes. And this is all built on permanent life insurance. And when Mr. McGlue passes away, that the hospital district is repaid its capital plus an interest rate. That fairly straightforward.
Thank you, David.
Ross, I'll kind of let you guide me a little bit here. Should we go right to some of the most recent projections we've been talking about?
Yeah, let me just add I probably should have started with a little intro here. So if nobody's not ever heard this proposal before, they can kind of understand how we got here. I am interested in seeing our CEO stick around for a number of years, 7 to be exact, to see us through the end of the construction project that we're embarking on. And so we're looking at this proposal, which would essentially do a couple of things for our CEO in return for him agreeing to stay for another 7 years. One, it would supplement his retirement with additional income per month over a period of 15 years. And upon the death of him, his family would have a life insurance policy that would essentially cover what his annual salary is, a one-time payment for that. This would cost the district initially $600,000, a little more than $600,000 for a one-time payment of that. And then upon the death of Tim and his spouse at some point in the future, the district would be paid back all of that initial investment plus interest. It's estimated to be over $1 million. So down the road, we make an initial investment now of $600,000. We get it all back at some point in the future. We get to keep the CEO for 7 years without any raises or cost of living increases during that entire time. And then his benefit is additional, a supplement to his retirement over the next 15 years, or 15 years after he retires. I've got a list of pros and cons, which I won't go over at this point, David, but I'll go ahead and turn this back to you and you can talk about the specific numbers.
We ran a couple of different scenarios here. And just as Ross said, this is based on what's called a survivorship design. And basically it's a policy that ensures 2 lives, in this case, husband and wife, and it does not pay until the second death. So the pricing is based on joint life expectancy, which can make policies a little bit more efficient. Again, your year of death or age of death is because it's based on joint mortality is a little bit further out, but it can make it the policies much more efficient. So we looked at a couple of things here at the board's direction was, one, how much would it require in terms of capital if the district were to fund this all in 1 year and be done with it, so completely get it funded. Benefits of that are this interest rate that the district will be paid back can be locked and will not fluctuate over time, so it allows a fair amount of more precision in terms of designing the policies. And it allows the policies to be funded a little bit faster. So it's a little bit more efficient capital wise. So if the district decides to fund over, that or fund it all at implementation, as Ross said, it's about $600,000. It's a shade over $600,000 in capital. We're also asked to run a scenario that assumed the district might want to fund this over several years. So we looked at a 3-year fund on that. And when you do that, you have to get your crystal ball out and try to predict or estimate what the interest rate that would be due back to the district would be in the future. So given the trajectory of this rate, which is referred to as the AFR or the applicable federal rate, due to the trajectory of this, we did project that rate to be higher in years 2 and 3. And because of that, the weighted average AFR was higher, which required more capital into the policies to have it remain compliant. You see primarily that difference right here, that the repayment policy premium is substantially bigger in the multi-year fund than it is in the funding that's done completely at implementation. So all things being equal, it does look like that funding and implementation is a more efficient way to go, and you have a lot more certainty in the design. But both of these are projected to provide the $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year of cash flow during Tim's retirement over that 15-year period. Same projection, same benefit, just two different ways of getting there. And as Ross mentioned, the recovery to the district, depending on which scenario is selected, is somewhere between $1 million and $1.6 million back to the district, and then some projected excess death benefit to Mr. McGlue's and his family's beneficiaries of somewhere between $275,000 and $410,000 of excess death benefit. The projected recovery to the district is something that's based on the interest rate. The excess is something that won't be known until the time of death of both lives, just because it's an excess number that either is higher or lower than this based on policy performance. So this box kind of signifies the two options that seem to be the most popular ones in previous discussions and ones that the board might want to consider.
Thank you, David. Do you have more detail that you want to provide, or is that the essence of what you want to share?
I would say that's the essence, but I want to make sure that it's understandable to everybody. So I'm happy to dive into detail, answer questions. I'm not sure if this is the first time many of you have seen split dollar just as a concept, so I'm happy to take any questions on that or anything else.
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, the life can he even get life insurance? Does this require a separate life policy that you have to sign up for? And if it's rated to where it costs more, does that change anything?
That's a good question. We do have to underwrite these two life insurance policies. And we have assumed standard pricing here. So depending, it can be either better or worse, depending on what comes back. And so if the board approves, the next step is to get into the underwriting process and get that going so we can get some pricing and decisions from the life insurance carriers so we can be more precise about this.
We can't approve not knowing.
What an accurate number is.
Right.
So Gene, what I'm hoping for tonight is as we get a conceptual approval
Okay.
of the board to move
Okay.
forward, and then the actual details and
Yeah.
contracts and whatnot come
It
to
could
us.
be a really good deal.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with it, depending on what.
Sure.
Tim's,
What the actual numbers
Yeah.
Actual numbers.
Because one of the things too that I had asked David, David, can you put the slide back up with the numbers? One of the things that really drives the cost is that percentage, the AFR assumption, because I had asked David at our governance meeting the other day, how price sensitive is that based upon what that percentage is? And it's pretty price sensitive. And you want to kind of go through some of your comments if you recall those from the other day, because like I said, right now, this is really conservatively,
But it doesn't make,
structured
a-
at some
it
point.
doesn't make a lot of difference if you
Yeah.
can't perform and get a policy.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, I absolutely.
And
No
so,
question about it.
so,
There is those issues. That's no
yeah,
question about
and it could be a really good deal
Yeah.
for us and you.
Yeah.
Because, so we can keep you for 7 years.
Yeah.
So I can harass you.
it. You promised me you weren't running again.
Can I make a motion that we move forward with it?
Yes.
Did you make that promise?
It's a harassment perception.
To get the numbers and
Right.
then.
Right. Good conceptual approval.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just say there's a couple of factors that, depending on how fast this gets done, could work in our favor. One, the AFR, we've been conservative and projected an AFR that's a little bit higher than it actually is right now. So if we get it done in a month, that the AFR is lower than 2.25, that's going to lower the capital requirement. And we're also going to go out to multiple life insurance carriers and look for the most efficient policies that we can find. So there's potentially some capital savings there as well. So many times, I don't know if there's going to be an underwriting issue, but many times when we get those types of challenges, they can be offset by lower AFRs, more efficient carriers, those types of things. But what you all are doing, which is the conceptual approval subject to final numbers, is very common, and we're happy to work with that.
The fact that we're insuring him for more than he's worth, does that make any difference?
Okay.
I was joking.
Hush, Gene.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Kathy.
So on here, we have two different plans, one for 2,000 a month and one for 3,000 a month cash flow? Or is that the same one? It's just over?
We looked at different pricing, different monthly payouts and stuff
Okay.
like this. We basically removed the 3,000.
Okay,
I thought that was the dollars involved were way too much.
okay,
So we took that off the table.
all right. Thank
And,
you.
again, we looked at here too, whether it was a 15 or a 20-year program. And again, I think in our talk before, we decided we're going 15.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
because it's, again, it adds more cost to the plan.
We've discussed this at governance committee. So, the committee members and Tim have talked about this. And basically, what we're proposing is a 1-year payout, that first column there. Yeah, right where the cursor is, that one.
It looks good if it works.
Yeah.
When the real numbers come in,
Yeah.
Right.
if they were like that, it wouldn't be bad.
Did you have other questions?
I didn't.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
John, Fred, any questions, comments?
No, I got mine answered in governance the other day for Ross, but thank you.
Okay.
I agree. When I listened in, I was satisfied with that. And I believe we need to explore it further to see where we're going to qualify at.
Okay. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this item? Okay, well, we'll need a second before we can move it to a vote.
I'll gladly second, Ross.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, any more discussion before I call the vote? Okay, seeing none. Director O'Connor,
Yes.
Director Parks,
Yes.
Director Clark,
Yes.
Director Blythe,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So David, it's back in your court. Bring us real numbers and propose contracts and meet our attorney.
As soon as you can, like you said, the interest rate is a factor.
Absolutely. So Tim, this means I'll be getting in touch with you right away to get the underwriting process started.
You got it.
Make it as simple as possible. We do it all the time, and so hopefully it won't be too painful.
Okay.
Thanks for your help. Thanks for calling in so late tonight from Texas.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you, David.
Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, then that moves us to item, what I've labeled G2. This is the Gary Hicks letter of agreement. John, you had questions on this item?
Yeah, just a quick question, because I know the other day at finance, of course, I couldn't say anything because I'm not on the committee, but I just kind of got the impression that there was an issue that came up because we didn't have a line of credit. So I was just curious, is Gary going to help us get a line of credit from what I'm gathering from the letter that he put together? And is it imperative for us right now to get a letter?
Yeah, John, he actually did it. That was the issue.
Oh, okay.
In other words, his initial scope was to get the bond thing done and so forth, because we didn't think we were going to have an issue with the line of credit until West America pulled out, because they only wanted the guarantee that Cal Mortgage was offering. And so when we paid off Cal Mortgage, there's no more guarantee, so they backed out. So we didn't have the line of credit. So Gary had done that work and so forth. It was actually in the budget that was originally put together for those funds, but we forgot to put that in. So Chet and I got with him. We went through that. We asked him to put together this addendum to that agreement, the original agreement, to cover just the costs for that line of credit work that he did.
Oh, okay. I was just misunderstood, I guess. So I apologize. Okay, well, with that, questions have been answered. So I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the letter of agreement with Gary Hicks.
Thank you, John. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, John and Catherine. Any other questions, discussion among the board? Any member of the public wishing to be heard on this? Okay, Catherine, your vote?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you all. Okay, this brings us to H, the foundation report. Do we have somebody from representing the foundation tonight?
Good evening.
Hey, Debbie?
Yes, so, we're still kind of in a holding pattern. We're still expecting to do River Rhythms and all of our events. The one thing that we have actually started is Judy, the president, will be putting an article in the paper. I believe it's towards the end of the month, every month, to advertise and talk about the foundation and the things we do. So, and then are you going to talk about the shoe, socks and shoe?
Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to add to that, and Judy came and met with me and Deb the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact. The one thing, again, that she was asking if, even though the River Rhythms is a foundation event, she thought that would be really great if some of the board members could attend those, or, not all of them, but, I know you go pretty regularly, and some others. Just, it's a great place because there's so many of the community members that are there, to just interact and just be seen and those kinds of things. So she was just throwing that out, that she asked me to mention that to the board, if the board members could find a way to get down there at some point and participate. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. If you haven't been, go at least once. It's full of music. It's full of fun. The whole community is there. It's a good time.
Is it dangerous? Is that
No.
why you want some of the board
No.
members to go there?
Only if you consider dancing on grass dangerous.
No pike throwing.
No.
All right.
We just
Just kidding.
no,
And wear your
KVHD Polo.
Oh,
Don't spin.
We're actually gonna be ordering those for the board. We got them for the employees, and then afterwards we said, oh, we forgot the board member sizes. So I'm gonna be ordering those again for the board members. It's got the new logo and everything on them as well. So we need to get your sizes and all. We'll do that privately.
Thank you.
I'm there right there with you guys.
So anything else on foundation? Anything you want to add?
No, because I think Tim's going to talk about the shoe drive.
One of the things, yeah, I'll be fine. I can do that now. I didn't have it in my written report, but one of the things we've been asked by Holly Spawn Gross through the California Podiatric Society or Association. They are really, again, because so many people have been hit hard by COVID. We've got such a huge homeless population up here. One of the things that they wanted to do, this primarily is starting here in Kern Valley, and they're asking people to donate either new or like new shoes and socks that they can hand out to people in the community that are in need, and so forth. Their plan is ultimately to take this statewide and so forth, but this was something that she had come up with. And so I know Deb has been getting the word out to the community on that. There's a box in administration right now that people can donate them to us. So there's one, I think.
There's one in HR if the community wants to come in and donate.
Yeah.
And then there's one in Skin and Wellness also.
And then if people want to make a monetary contribution, they can do that as well. And then those will be used to buy shoes and socks as well, based upon the needs. If they've got, young kids and so forth that need shoes and stuff like that, they can certainly do those. And I know we talked earlier today, about the foundation, because obviously you get a lot of things that come through there that we might be able to participate with this as well. So it just sounds like a great cause. Obviously we do have a lot of people in need up here, especially coming out with the lost jobs and COVID and everything else. And it's not kind of a nice way of doing something for the community. So, I've kind of taken that challenge on here for the hospital. We've asked the foundation to get involved as well. I'm actually having Kern Health Systems. I'm sending a letter off through them to Kern Health Systems to see if they would be willing to sponsor that as well, because they do a lot of these kinds of things. So just to kind of do something nice for the community.
I wouldn't be able to donate nobody wants to be in my shoes.
So I think it's my shoes that we want to be.
Could we legally make a donation to the hospital, like a couple $100 or 500? Could we do that?
I don't know.
So it depends on why you're doing it. So if you are doing something for employees, right, if it's somehow related to employees and you want to do a morale thing, you can. If it's a private nonprofit, typically you cannot.
Okay, it's for promotion. We want to look good and be part of. So
If it's part of a marketing budget, and
okay,
it's to promote the hospital and the services it provides, then yes, you could
Okay.
do it in that way.
can I make a motion that we?
No,
Okay,
Yeah.
you
You
can't.
can't take
so it's going to be on the
tonight.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
This goes through June 8th, so this first wave will be over June 8th.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
How do the shoes get distributed to people? Has that been thought out yet?
Yeah, Holly's got a strategy because again, she deals with so many, she's tied into so many groups for underprivileged people and stuff like that. So, they go to India, they go down to South America. We're working with homeless people, providing medical care and so forth. Like I said, this was something just because of what she's seen changes in the
I think it's a
population.
worthy cause. I do. I
Yeah.
saw a woman yesterday
Yeah.
walking down the boulevard in these enormous heels.
Yeah.
Pushing a baby stroller. It was, 100 degrees. And I thought, oh my God, that's the only shoes she's got.
So,
Good.
yeah, everything's welcome.
she is awesome.
100% of it, everything goes back to the community. So.
I saw a guy walking down the street with one shoe on and one shoe off like that. And I said, man, I'm so sorry you lost a shoe. He says, no, I found one.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, great, thank you.
thanks. All right, Cindy, the auxiliary report. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody again.
Likewise.
The thrift store is doing great. We're getting in a lot of donations. In fact, I talked with Mr. McGlue today about the shoe drive because somebody donated 500 pairs of shoes to us.
Wow.
So it's like,
Cool.
and if it's acceptable, we would give them to the drive.
Nice.
Because they're all the same. They're all little ballerina type slippers, blue over blue. So
Wow.
gift shop is doing awesome. Ellen's been open now, I want to say 4 months. 4 months on Wednesdays and Thursdays. She's brought the newspaper back into the gift shop today. So donations have been coming in really heavy. We're glad to see that. We're just all looking forward now to the lobby opening.
Right.
Getting back to work.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Questions of Cindy?
I'd like to just say, Tim, would you like to speak to the lobby opening?
No, I'm gonna let you do
Discussions.
it. You're gonna do it during your report.
Okay.
I won't take anything off your plate.
Okay, that brings us then to Dr. Finstead, medical staff report.
All right, thank you, Ross. The Pharmacy and Therapeutics Committee met on May 17th. The first thing we discussed was COVID-19 related issues, primarily regarding community testing and also the vaccination programs. We also reviewed and approved 5 policies, including policies for a new piece of laboratory equipment, automatic oral medication dose reduction for the SNF patients. What this means is that patients that have renal impairment, have chronic kidney disease, there's a number of medications that need to be decreased so they don't experience side effects from them. We have an automatic program on acute care where the pharmacist can make adjustments, and this will bring the SNF into that realm so that the pharmacist can make those adjustments depending upon the blood tests that show renal impairment. Also approved a automatic substitution of medications and unit dose repackaging. We reviewed and approved the removal of 6 obsolete pharmacy policies due to things that we don't do anymore. Some of these are holdovers from paper records instead of the EMR and things. We also reviewed and discussed changes to 2 protocols, the propofol administration and also Activase administration for acute ischemic stroke. In addition to that, we reviewed our monthly and quarterly reports, including blood usage, blood culture analysis, medication error reduction program issues, medication shortages, Foley catheter use, and things. We also reviewed the annual infection control report regarding employee influenza vaccination and declination report of the hospital employees, things. The infection control committee met the next day on May 18th. They discussed employee masking guidelines. This was right after the CDC had made their announcement. No changes have been planned yet, pending California's, CDPH and Newsom's, changes and stuff, which I think we're expecting some major changes this month. Also reviewed regular quarterly monthly reports, hospital-acquired infections, blood cultures, Foley catheter usage, surgery site infections, among other things, along with antibiotic use on the SNF for urinary tract infections and wound and respiratory infections. And then the Medical Executive Committee met on May 18th. We reviewed and approved the 2 credential files for reappointment tonight. Also the policies and procedures that were approved. Marie Quick, who is our medical staff coordinator, has recently made a change in the way we've been requesting coroner's reports from Kern County. So we reviewed 5 coroner's reports at this meeting, which, to put that into perspective, that is more reports reviewed in one meeting than we have reviewed in total over at least the past 20 years. So this is an improvement in this. Most of these are patients that come in through the ED and things. So they were quite interesting. Kevin Shamus, the ED director, is on the executive committee, and he will be reviewing those, and we'll be further discussing them at our next meeting. Things, and then we discussed some of the above mentioned COVID-19 issues, and that's the end of my report, unless there are any questions or similar.
Thank you, Dr. Finstead. Board members, questions, comments?
No questions, thank you.
No.
No, not from me.
Okay,
Dr.
all right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, Chief Executive Officer report, Mr. McGlue.
Thank you. One of the things I really want to start off saying is I know as part of the consent agenda item, we approved the raises for the CNAs and the LVNs tonight, which I think is going to have a huge impact on our staff. Certainly the morale issue in there, our ability to hopefully retain those individuals now, because this puts them in a position, even with the increase in minimum wage that's anticipated in December, will put them beyond that. So we won't have to go back and do that adjustment again. It was about a little over 14% increase for the CNAs. Because of some of the closeness of those two ranges with the LVNs, we had to adjust them up about 5%. We'll be announcing that to the staff tomorrow. So I think that I really appreciate the board approving that. I think this is something that, again, we've talked about it before, that the CNAs work their butts off. And it is in many respects, a thankless job, for the money that they generate. And what we really wanted to do was, now that we've got the school in place and so forth, is really try to create an environment and a situation where there is some professional recognition for the work they do. And it's just not another minimum wage paid job, and so forth. So again, really, really happy that we were able to do that. Just a couple things I'll try and go through them quickly. The COVID testing, obviously, we are really in the process right now, switching the community testing away from our site across the street over to our lab draw station. Right now, I mean, the counts for people getting tested by the community have dropped incredibly. I mean, they've been averaging in the teens. I think today we did 13. And of that 13, 9 of them were our employees. So, and 2 of them were hospice employees, and the other was 2 people from the community. And so to have, 3, 4 people sitting across the street to do that, for X number of hours. So we're worked with the county. The county is fine with us doing this.
The testing,
Yeah.
or a test for antibodies, some people might be immune. Can they test to see if they need or what?
What we do, because again, it's a county's program. And so they provide us with the media, they provide us, they pay for the staffing time to do this. They pay for the tests that we send out to the labs. So it's, what we do is the PCR, which is the most accurate test.
A lot of people don't want to take it, right? I mean, it's just.
No, actually, I have not, Greg, I'm going to, refer to you or Mark. I've not heard that people are refusing to take it. Again, it's
Taking
the test, the COVID test.
No, not test. I'm talking about the shot.
The vaccine. No, it's different, yeah.
What I'm asking is,
I'll get to that.
test, can you test to see if they're automatically immune? If they are, they don't need the shot.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Still, Greg, can you answer that?
It's a pretty complicated question. Just because you have antibodies doesn't mean that you can't get another infection. And just because you've been vaccinated or have the disease, that doesn't mean that you're going to demonstrate that you have active antibodies. Active antibodies do not necessarily guarantee, immunity. But on the other side, it's just a really complicated thing. We know that we have people that have not mounted antibodies in their blood, but we know from bone marrow biopsies that they are immune. So it's not the greatest test in the world, and that's why we don't do them widespread.
Okay, because some people that are saying that they don't have it done, I'm wondering if there's a way to encourage them to get it done because they feel like they can't get sick.
Fred, if I could make a comment here. So when you get the infection, when you get COVID-19, you obviously mount an antibody response to that. Now that does not mean that those antibodies are protective from getting a new infection. You can develop antibodies to different parts of the virus that won't prevent you from getting the infection. So then in the vaccines that have been developed, they have specifically designed those vaccines to promote antibody response to the spike protein. That is what allows the virus to bind to the cells, which is the first stage in getting the infection. So then with the variants that we're seeing, that's what's happening is the different genetic variants, the spike protein will change a little bit so that some of the antibodies become a little bit less effective for preventing that infection. So even though you've had COVID-19, it is definitely recommended that you get the vaccine.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. And you answered. Thank you.
Yeah, they're still learning from all these that have had it. The research is still going on. I mean, there's been articles out recently. They're saying now that it could be a lifetime immunity. They don't know at this point in time, but it's certainly longer than they thought it was going to be, I think, initially.
Hopefully it's gone.
Yeah.
And Kern County is doing the governor's incentive.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. So anyway, that's kind of what's happening on. We're going to be bringing that back. Like I said, bringing it back inside will hopefully allow us to cut down our staffing, save some dollars there, not only for us, but for the county. And so we're going to be probably hoping to get this done before next Wednesday. We've just got to work out the logistics of who they're going to call to set up the time to come in to get tested and what days we're going to do it and so forth. But our plan is to try and get that done hopefully by tomorrow if we can. And then get this out to the public, obviously, so they know where to go. If we can, we'll do it the following week. But there's just a lot of pressure on us because of staff needs and stuff like that we try and want to get this cleared up. As it relates to vaccinations, tomorrow, I believe, is the last day that we're going to be using our mobile clinic to do vaccinations out in public. After that, they will be coming back into the clinic. And you can sign up for those via My Turn. Greg, anything you want to add to that?
They still would call the same phone number that they have been, or they can call the clinic directly.
Okay.
And we're working out some other potential ways to increase the availability of the vaccine. So right now we have very limited requests for vaccine, and there's a lot of opportunities in the county that people are exercising. So I'm still kind of working out how we could make it even more accessible to our patients.
Yeah, great, thanks. You brought up, Catherine, the governor's incentive program. There hadn't been a lot of real accurate information that's gone out to the public other than, yes, we're going to give you $1.5 million or $50,000 or whatever. The way it was written was in such that it seemed like was only if you haven't gotten it, you're going to get the COVID vaccine now, you're eligible for that. I reached out to Kern County Public Health day before yesterday and kind of was, and I have a great relationship. And I said, this is like the stupidest thing I've ever heard of if you're doing it that way. I said, because I said, the bottom line is if this plan was to only give this for people who are now going to get the vaccine, this is your encouragement enticement to go get it done. I said, what you've now done is you've just incentivized disincentivized the entire state to ever get another vaccine. I said, because what's the point? I'll wait till the government's going to pay me to go. And I said, so that made absolutely no sense. And so I said, unless the plan was that the big dollar giveaways were for everybody that's been vaccinated. And so she sent me a letter back this morning and said, Tim, thanks, great question. So I understand your frustration. Yes, the $1.5 million, there's 10 of those, I believe. There's 200, I think, of the $50,000 that are being given away. That's for everybody who's been vaccinated in the state. They're eligible for that. The only ones that would be eligible for the $50 are the people who are getting it for the first time.
Right.
So, and that's like another 2 million.
Up to 2 million people
Right.
or something.
Right. So that's the strategy. So
And then they go into a lottery or something.
Yeah.
For a lump sum.
Yes. So,
Very interesting.
so
I'm gonna go get it again.
you're not the first person that said that. I think Heidi was the first.
Want to go? So, yeah, I got it from Kern Reddy, a text on my phone.
Yeah,
So
yeah, everybody's been blasting everybody.
kind of interesting.
But yeah, that's what's happening. And I guess this is going to roll out June 15th. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff on that June 15th. As well as I understood this was going to be discussed tonight with the county, but I'm here, so I'll get it tomorrow morning. But there's some changes coming down from CDPH as well, and which Mark and I are hoping is a good sign that we can cut back on our weekly testing of all of our SNF employees and everybody else. That's just, they're having to go through those COVID tests, weekly.
That's good, though. I mean,
Well, it is, but there isn't any active COVID infection going on really in the community, so. But that's where you look for signs and symptoms and stuff like that, so. And we're not saying do away with it. We're suggesting either back it off to every 2 weeks or once a month or something, not complete elimination. I think as long as we're in healthcare, there's a need that we probably should be tested periodically for those kinds of things. But anyway, that's what's happening there. The hospital, I'll leave that one to Mark. We applied for a grant. There's a lot of letters going out from Cal OES, the Office of Emergency Services, that they had funds available for telemedicine. They were really pushing rural telemedicine and so forth. And, we basically said, hey, we've been doing it for longer than anybody here, almost 9 years. And so I got a phone call one night from an organization that was trying to put together a consortium of healthcare facilities, skilled nursing facilities, critical access hospitals, and others, and around the state, trying to come up with a way to apply as a consortium for these grants, figuring that would be the best way of getting approval for these things. And so turns out that the lead agency was my former employer before I came here. And so forth. Didn't realize it at the time. So I reconnected with them, and they were thrilled to have us on board. So we put in for 5 new units. We'll see if we get funded. The thought in talking with Carrie was that we've had some that we've had since the very beginning that, we might want to go ahead and retire or use some of those equipment for some other purpose.
The telemed equipment.
Yes, exactly. And this would provide brand new, much higher resolutions and it's full blown everything with all the, stethoscopes and all this other stuff that goes with it. I've made quite a few enhancements apparently since we first got them. So anyway, we'll see.
Cost of what, I mean.
0 for us.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but what's the value of what we're getting? We got 5.
It's about, I thought he told me about 16,000 per unit, so it's about 5 times that, it's about 90,000, I think. So anyway, they got their proposal in under the wire and so forth, so they're, and they're a pretty vocal group, that agency. And they're with very big ties to Sacramento. We'll see whether or not we get approved for that. But again, I think, again, this is one thing we talked about, like with the technology, just keep pressing, get the latest and greatest and stuff where we can, especially if it's not going to cost us anything,
So the patient would have to go in there.
Well, again,
to a specialist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got most of our rooms in the SNF are in the Mountain View have telemedicine equipment available. We may be able to add some additional cameras in SNF. We're on the acute unit, which we don't have a unit for.
What about a mobile one? I mean,
these are mobile carts. I mean, so we can move them around to the hospital.
I'm talking about in a van.
We have that now with our mobile health.
Okay, cool.
So it was equipped with telemedicine equipment as well. And so for just that reason, because now we can get specialist visits out into the community and so forth. So, or they can literally have telemedicine visits right into our clinic here. So anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. I'll keep you apprised as we learn more. The Tesla battery connection has been completed. The physical connections, we're just now waiting for the state to finalize that hookup. We're in the process right now, just waiting for certificate of insurance to see that Southern California Edison wants, naming them as a covered entity. So that's in process. And they also notified us that on June 11th and 12th, they will be bringing the community's power down beginning, I think it's 9 p.m. on the 11th, June 11th, until 6 a.m. on the 12th, because they're replacing the high power lines going up McRae. So that will shut all of our contacts that are on Southern California Edison down for 9 hours. So Bob's been working on, again, we've had 2 outages now recently, so he's kind of getting pretty good at this. But so again, this is one of the reasons why we really want to get that transformer or the new generator hooked up, so we never have to have these kinds of issues again. And it would have been great if we had the battery systems charged and stuff like that, because that would have gotten us probably through that 8-hour period, especially at night. So this is like a Friday night, Saturday morning hookover. Bob's and his crew are going to be here, watching that to make sure nothing happens. So again, just our infrastructure here in the valley. So just I'm happy they're making some improvements to it. It's about time. We did receive word. We received our final check from our Prime program. Was that today, Barbara, or yesterday? That was for $613,000. After this year, the program switches to what they call QIP, and which actually is a higher threshold. I think the minimum payments, especially right out of the gate, are $750,000. And so and that's all criteria-based things that Lisa Wiley and her team work on. So this program will continue on for the foreseeable future, which we're pleased on. So that was nice to get that. We also received notice from the planned sale of the building that we were originally looking at over here, the 12308 building, which is where HR and Deb Hess, our marketing office, is. Apparently the Schoen Trust, the families decided that they want to sell that building. They had it assessed for $180,000. They're willing to, they've sent letters to us because we have a lease in there already, just one notifying us that if someone buys it, you could lose your lease. But also saying, hey, again, if you're interested in buying the building, we'll sell it to you, at a discount price, just for a quick sale. So they were looking at about $169,000 for us if we were interested in buying that. I shared with them that we kind of have a new building that we bought already, but we appreciate that notification. And and they don't have a buyer yet. The letter I received indicating that there was actually some a public group that might be interested in the building, which turned out to be our foundation. So we're the ones that are trying to help sell the building. So anyway, just reporting that to the board.
That building could be very good for some of the hospital for what they're asking for it.
It's not a lot.
The open spot that they used to give food giveaway,
Mhm.
could leave it like that and be a good PR for the hospital.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if we could use that space, that open space too, how many, is it 6,000 feet? Bob?
Bob, do you remember?
The actual HR building or the?
Yeah, the
one
two
building.
suites there. What's our suite? Because we got half the
It's
building.
doubled it.
Right.
It's on, yeah, it's
4,000, maybe 4,200.
or 3.
Yeah, it's probably 3. So then with a 1,500 feet open, it's open space that could be used for yoga, different stuff. That,
Yeah,
But I thought the church had.
no, the church is the other, totally separate.
the church, is using, they have that suite.
Oh, that's right. There is a suite.
Yeah, they're gonna lose, they're being notified as
We're
well.
leasing the other half. Of
Right,
what we-
but they will lose theirs. Just, I'm sure they got the
Well,
same.
they
one
want
we
to
did.
sell that one too, I heard. I don't know, but
Oh, seriously?
yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet.
I don't know what price, I don't know anything.
Yeah, well, that was interesting because the Schoen Trust donated that other building to the church.
Yeah.
That's the parent group for this group that's down there now, and so forth.
But
That
for
was
the kind of money to be able to have that would, to have that much space available
Yeah.
to the community for different activities could be a very good PR thing.
I had suggested that maybe the foundation wants to go back and approach the Schoen Trust about donating the building to the hospital, since they certainly had the wherewithal to donate it to the church, the other half of it.
Or donate half of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Something.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that, but
can the foundation buy the building? I mean, our bylaws, are you familiar with?
they're a separate
Yeah,
organization. so-
they're entirely distinct from the hospital.
Well,
They're their own 501c3.
Yeah.
Own board, own bylaws, own
Okay.
governance, and they're a private
okay,
corporation.
what about the liability for, we cover the liability for their activities? Like the river rhythms.
I don't think the hospital does,
Uh-oh,
unless you cleared it with Beta.
No, Beta has covered it, yeah.
they have,
Allow us to do it.
they have.
They do?
They've allowed us to do that.
So,
So,
okay, that's a question, if they. Okay,
so anyway, that's what's going on there. We also received notice from Beta, or from Alpha, I guess it was, that our workers' comp renewal quote for fiscal year 22 came through, while payroll increased by 3.7% from last year. Our mod rating dropped by 27.7%, almost cut by 28%. That one we qualify, there's a dividend we're eligible for $41,000, and the premium drop because of that mod rating change is $162,000 a year. So that's what we've been working so hard to try and cut down on the employee injuries and stuff like that. So I didn't expect it to drop that much.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was
that was one good thing I forgot to say about them in the prior meeting.
save it for the next meeting. So anyway, that's my report.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions of Tim? Okay, then we'll turn to our Chief Nursing Officer, Mark Gordon.
Boy, the workers' comp information is fascinating. The fact that these nurses are working so hard and everybody else in the building is working so hard.
Yeah.
So the COVID-19 numbers for the month of May continue to decline, thankfully. Only one positive in the month through the emergency department that was not admitted to the hospital. So that's a good thing. That leaves us to about 0.26% positivity rate, which is encouraging. Modified visitor restrictions are in place. Instructions are posted in various entry points within the facility. And I'd like to just read what we posted at these entry points. It says, all visiting family members and friends, our mission is to provide a safe and healthy environment for all. The CDC has issued guidance to prevent the spread of infection within the facility. And while we have relaxed some of the visitation policies, we are still under a pandemic situation. Visiting hours are still 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and the following guidelines are not negotiable. Number one, upon pre-screening, you'll be asked a few questions related to your own health and your temperature will be recorded. Number two, upon entry, you must wear a mask at all times when in the facility and stay in your loved one's room. If assistance is needed, you may use the call light. The nurses will attend to your needs. Number three, we ask that you limit your, was there a question?
Yeah, the mask, if they're in the room, do they still have that with their loved one or whatever?
Absolutely, yes.
Still need to wear the mask, okay.
Unless, Gene, unless number five here, or number four, wait, let me just go on with my reading.
Sorry, okay.
We ask that you limit your visit to short periods of time and with no more than 2 persons in the room at the same time. Maintain social distance unless providing proof of vaccination. Then they can take their mask off and give them a hug or whatever they want to do. Then the final thing, visitation is not permitted for patients who are in isolation until that isolation restriction is lifted. So that means if someone is admitted to the hospital and we do a PCR test on them, until that test is returned, they still cannot visit their loved ones. We've provided the FaceTime tablets so that people can visit via FaceTime and things like that. So we're doing everything we can to see that they get that visitation, but we've still had some disgruntled visitors wanting to get in to see their loved ones, and unfortunately, sometimes we can't do that.
Sounds like you're doing a great job.
Well, it's hard to enforce some of those when people get adamant. Let's say it that way.
It was keeping people alive down there.
We're still waiting to hear about the grant that we submitted to Kern Health Systems for 2 vehicles, local transportation for patients to and from appointments and other essential services, whether it be pharmacy needs or rides home from the emergency department. That grant included 2 FTE drivers for those vehicles. So we'll see how that goes. We should know something I learned from an inside source that we may know something within 2 weeks or so. So we're hopeful.
Where are we gonna put the drivers when they give them to us? They could go in that building we buy.
4 houses up from the finance company on the right side, there's a motorhome parked. That's where they're gonna stay.
Hey, good thinking.
Registered nurses are woefully short across the country, and we are no exception. Staffing agencies are still trying to provide good nurses at competitive rates. However, the COVID market is driving those rates to exorbitant numbers. We had confirmed an RN to come to work on med-surg, and they were scheduled to start on the 14th. I received notice 30 minutes before this meeting that that person backed out. So we're, we're hearing stories of the hospital in Blythe is offering $140 an hour for ER nurses right now, which is just crazy numbers. We haven't seen these things before. So, we're lucky we're getting the ones that we're getting. So anyway, we're still on the hunt for more. We had another, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's an emergency room. If you got no one to man it, could you have volunteers? I know that sounds crazy, but rather than doing nothing, what would you do?
If we had people that could work it, I'm sure they'd take pay from us to do it. I wouldn't need them as volunteers.
Okay.
I'll pay them, if they're qualified. That's the big issue. They got to be licensed and you got to have the experience.
But what if, if nobody shows up?
then the nurses that are there stay and they work it out. We've been working this out for the last 4 or 5 months. Heidi, would you agree with that?
Seems like longer.
It seems like longer, yeah. The nurses are the ones we have are so dedicated to providing that nursing care that we just were, they're very motivated and dedicated. Let's just put it that way. And we are, go ahead,
I was
Tim.
going to say, Mark, I was just going to, commend you too for your efforts to try and look at alternate staffing means and so forth, using LVNs in there and so forth. And I think that, certainly is getting the bodies in there as well. And also helping to reduce some of the costs associated with that. So it's kind of out of the box thinking, yeah.
Let me touch on that for just a minute. Typically we have a standby emergency room and we have typically 2 RNs 24 hours a day with a third RN between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m., which are peak hours. I've queried the medical director for the ER and several of the ER nurses, and they've agreed that an LVN in that swing shift, that 10 to 10 shift, that is ACLS certified, has experience in ERs before. They're very, very helpful in that role. So that's kind of helping to kind of put a finger in the dike, so to speak. They're very helpful in the ER. There are very few things in their scope of practice that they cannot do relative to what an RN does. So the RN has to do certain things. However, the LVN can do so many things to help supplement some of those shortages. And that's where we're going with it. So yeah, we've actually made offers to 2 LVNs. There's been a job posting for 5 days now, and we made offers to 2 LVNs that are very excited about performing in that area. So that's what we're doing. We're going to be paying an LVN to do what used to be done by an RN, which is beneficial to the hospital staffing. Not only that, we have more of a pool of nursing staff to draw from. So it benefits us in 2 ways.
Cool. Thank you. I'm sorry to ask that question.
No.
The next thing I want to talk about is we had another verbal assault just Monday night on a nurse in the ER. Patient was brought in by CHP. The patient was cooperative and doing things while the CHP was here. He was dropped off for medical clearance, and once the CHP left, he became very verbally abusive, making threats and concerns that way. There's a couple things that we are doing right now to mitigate some of that problem, but I feel it kind of compelled that we need to protect our staff that are here, especially in the off hours. So we received the second bid and are in the process of comparing 2 bids for night shift and kind of downtime shift services for security. The other thing we decided to look into, and that is repositioning our extensive camera network to get better coverage of troublesome areas. So we are kind of in the process. Tim and Carrie and Bob and I will be meeting tomorrow morning to kind of discuss some of those things. Man, it's a scary world that we live in these days, and people can be not nice. The next thing because dietary has had to, because of COVID, has had to close down the salad bars, and we're not the only one that closed down salad bars, mind you. There's a lot of places that do not offer salad bar options anymore. There is an automated system now that is a vending machine, basically, that you put a credit card into and it'll build you a salad based on what you put in there. And there's other options that you can stock this machine with, and you'll be hearing more about that very soon. And it's I've asked several people about this, would they consider it? And Cody Bulgarelli said, I would absolutely use that along with his wife. And so everybody's excited about it. Tiffany is going to present that vending machine expense to the foundation to see if they're willing to support that. But it would provide fresh salads. It would save on time, effort. Right now, we're putting together salads that are put into a plastic container and set out for people. Anyway, I think that Tiffany's going to have a very good, I'll say pitch, that's probably the wrong word, but she'll be presenting that to the foundation at the next foundation meeting.
Yeah, you can put up to 22 different salad items into this thing, and it's computer screen, and you pick out exactly what you want. And it literally, you put the plate in there, the bowl, and it literally just drops it, everything right into it. It's amazing.
You lease it or purchase?
Use to purchase. Yeah.
Yeah, we purchase it. It has a warranty with it, and then we stock it. There's a $900 training module that people have to get trained on how to maintain it, clean it, and stock it and everything else. So it's pretty extensive and elaborate. We're excited to entertain the idea.
And the one last point on that, it's available 24 hours a day. So our staff who are here at night can access it as well. So, which is really, really
and
nice.
Those disgruntled visitors.
Have we been very successful with vending machines in there? I know there's been vending machines before, and then there's always been, can't get your money back, the thing didn't work. So
It said credit card, so.
So this is a card thing. We're taught how to maintain it. It's not maintained by some offsite company. We know how to maintain it. We will have to be responsible for any malfunctions or any money that, you know what I mean? It's going to be our own. And it's much more advanced than a vending machine. It's much more advanced. It's
like Carvana.
Anyway, when we
almost looks like that it's a spindle thing that just spins.
Well, it's called Sally the Salad Maker Robot.
Nice. Sally the Salad Maker.
That's kind of goofy, but it truly is. From when I saw the pitch, it was pretty impressive. So look that up on YouTube tonight and see what you think.
And so do you know what the cost of that is now?
Yes, I do. But I'd rather wait until we discuss it.
I'll share it with you.
To see if we can get it funded.
Okay.
All righty.
Find a way. Staff's actually really excited about it because again, we've had to cut back on so much of our salad, offerings and stuff like that. And, people are trying to eat healthier and so forth. So that's, again, when she brought it to us, we said, this really is a great idea. When we look at the quality of the machine and everything else and so forth. And it's being used by some of the major, nutrition services, Aramark and some of these other things that they're putting in hospitals and businesses and stuff like that. So it's been pretty widely accepted out there. So it's not a new product.
Anything else, Mark?
Yeah, we only serve, there's one more point I wanted to make. I secured a membership with the Association of California Nurse Leaders. They provide educational opportunities for enhancing our own nurse leadership role and our growth. I'm also enrolled in a webinar on June 16th from 10 to 11 it's entitled how to, I forget the name, but it has to do with the CNO CFO relationship. So it should be interesting. I want to learn how to get along with my CFO. See how we can play nice.
Better get along.
But so I'm excited for the opportunities that nursing leadership program offers. And I think that is the extent of my report. I think that has to be the longest report I've ever given.
I think so.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you, Mark. No, it's good
All
stuff.
right.
Appreciate the information. I'm glad you're taking the initiative on that education. If you can learn how to get along with the CFO in 1 hour, I want that training.
That's just a start, Ross. I don't know. We'll see.
Any
I
other
asked him if Chet had to take that class.
board member comments for Mark? Questions? Okay. All right, Chet, you know I'm just kidding. We'll turn to you, Chet, for our Chief Financial Officer report.
Hey, Chad? Chad?
Hello?
Yeah, we're ready for your report.
Okay. I'm going to take just a minute to talk about how we're doing financially after 10 months into the current fiscal year. Basically, for the 10 months through April, the district has generated just over $94 million in charges from all of the services that we provide. That's as compared to the prior year, the prior fiscal year, for the same period of 91 million. So we're continuing to generate business, if you will, even though at times it gets down. And actually, all of our patient types, with the exception of the skilled nursing center, are above last year's generation of gross revenue. We actually are seeing between the discount Medicare and Medi-Cal, third-party allowances, bad debts, and charity care, about 72% of that revenue generation goes away into discounts and allowances. Last year, for the same period, it was 73%. So reasonably managed our discounts in the same manner we did in prior fiscal years this year. We have the operating revenue, which are things that we can put in for back claims payment or claims reversal or claims that are things that are paid on the basis of claims versus costs. And we actually have in this fiscal year today 477,000, and last year 206. Our direct expenses are actually 25 million versus 23 million last year. So we do have some growth in our direct expenses as well. But operationally, that allows us to be almost 889,000. Excuse me, it's 589,000. I got to look at that again. 589,000 versus the prior year of actually being a negative 766,000. We actually had for non-operating, which includes our property taxes, our investment income, and our long-term interest, as well as our deferred interest from the general obligation bonds of 410,000, or general obligation of the revenue bonds. In the case, however, of the revenue bonds that we have now, the new revenue bonds, we actually are capitalizing and will capitalize that interest. So it will not be hitting expenses till after we finish our portion of the project and it can be used. We a year ago had non-operating revenue after 10 months of 55,000. So we're gaining some positive portions there. So for 10 months of this fiscal year, after the application of all those things, we are currently at, through April, $178,000 negative. Last year, for the same period, we were at 700,000 even in negative bottom line. And that's my report, unless someone has questions.
Board members, any questions for Chet?
I have no questions.
Okay, Chet, thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, that takes us to item J on our agenda. This is number 1, the resolution 2104, resolution of the Board of Directors for the adoption of the Kern Valley Healthcare District Cafeteria Plan. And I'll turn it over to Tim for explanation.
Sure. One of the things, again, we offer our employees a cafeteria plan for their benefits. And that is done primarily to provide our employees an opportunity to purchase their medical insurance premiums through payroll deductions on a pre-tax basis. There's other benefits and so forth that go along with that. And then what we are required to do as a result of having that plan in place is that it needs to be reviewed on an annual basis to ensure that our plan remains in compliance with the IRS code section 125 and so requirements. And so this is the plan that's been brought forward tonight. There's been no change to the plan. This was last presented back in 2019. And I've spoken with our brokers and so forth. This is normally, even in the plan, it stipulates that usually once these are in place, they don't really get changed much or get reviewed unless someone brings forth a change to the program. And so that hasn't happened. And so our program is going to continue as it has over the last number of years with the same benefits and so forth, same opportunities and so forth for the employees. So this is coming forward to one of the things that they required us to do was to have the board approve a resolution from the board approving the flexible benefit plan to be effective as of July 1, 2021. And that's the resolution that you see on page 63 for you to hopefully approve for us.
Now, I got a question. You say employees. We do have a few people that's getting paid health insurance that's not employees.
Right. But this is only for the employee portion of that because this is to allow them to use the pre-tax dollars from their paychecks to do that.
Can I make a motion? We accept it as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Fred. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this item? Okay, seeing none, any board member questions, comments before we vote?
Yeah. We don't have to read the whole resolution, do we?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, thank you, Scott. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Catherine, your vote?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thanks for bringing that up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and item number 2 is board education. What we did a few weeks back is the board completed kind of a self-evaluation. And as part of that process, there were items identified of what the board members are seeking in terms of additional education to make themselves better board members and more responsive to the needs of our district and our community. And Heidi has compiled the list of all the different comments and kind of put it in order of the number of board members that are asking for specific education. And the one that tops the list is financial performance. The second one, these are all rated as 4 board members want training on strategic planning, training on third-party reimbursement issues, training on patient, physician, and staff satisfaction, training on public relations / crisis management, and training on legislative concerns. So the purpose of bringing this and putting this on the agenda tonight is to discuss among ourselves, among the board, how you want to tackle this education. How best do you want to get this? Do you want to be given readings that you could do on your own? Do you want staff to look for educational packets that might be out there online? How do you want to address this as a board and receive this education?
In the past, what I've done is a combination of things. You know, again, we, like I said, a number of these things sometimes get covered when we had either the ACHD, things that we go to, or CHA. Like I said, a lot of that shut down, obviously, because of COVID, as we talked earlier. And so, you know, the other thing I would do is I would find conference calls or conference Zoom sessions and so forth that the board members can call into. There was one that we had made available through a group, and I'll have to go back and find out who they were, that used to offer a monthly board education meeting. It was a 1-hour phone call. Dave Durr was great. I mean, he was religious about getting on those and so forth, but they were literally offered across the spectrum of the educational opportunity. So what we try to do is just, and then other things, like I said, we'd find as I go through my organizations that I belong to or whatever, or articles that we come across that we can share with the board members to help in their education and so forth. One of the other things we had talked about in the past was maybe the opportunity to have a on-site person come and give an update to the board, or do some on-site education for the board. And maybe sometimes we can get them to do a couple of topics at a time. You know, so there's a lot of different things we can do. So it really is up to the board in terms of what they would like to see. And, you know, we'll go after these and see what we can come up with. So.
The one thing specific, and everybody can look into what they want to look into, but they feel that being able to help is the one thing at the ACH, whatever it is.
Yeah, we talked about earlier.
If it's available this year, we should have the opportunity.
I'll give them a call and find out.
Because information from other board members is just so valuable. I learned how to harass you there.
Yeah, there's great techniques that have these. I will do what I can to help you with that.
Do we need any kind of motion to do anything?
No, I think it's really more of education.
Yeah, just discussion. And, you know, we don't get the opportunity to talk among ourselves unless we're sitting in a public meeting.
Right.
This is your opportunity to say, you know, how best do you want to learn about this?
So that's why you don't talk to me?
That's why I don't talk to you, Gene.
Well, I think whatever you can find that's available, whether it's for reading or like if a program like Alliance or something like that.
Governance Institute.
You know, Reliant, the different ones.
Yeah.
So Audible, that would be great.
TED Talks.
So, yeah. I mean, whatever the opportunities are.
How can we see what's available, what you got that's available? Is there on the website, could we put board education or? And then
There's
go
a
in
ton
there
of
and
stuff.
pick up
There's
stuff?
so much stuff on this. It's unbelievable. Yeah, let me see what I can pull together and send out to you guys. And you can certainly get online and take a look at it and see if that is, and if something looks good, then we can share it with the other board members. And, you know, if they want to participate or do that as well. I think that's the big thing is really first understanding what it is that you guys are interested in learning about. And then, you know, obviously begin identifying some opportunities for you to maybe get access to that information. So we'll work on that.
So if you can identify the things that 4 board members or more have asked for, you know, the top priority items, maybe, you know, find those first.
Yeah.
And you know, as you find those, if they're online or just articles or whatever, send that information out to the board members so they can take the time to educate themselves about it.
No problem.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item?
No, I'm good.
All right. Thank you all. No, we've got a couple more items.
What page?
Item number 3, this is page 4 of the agenda. the contracting process. And Dean, this is something that you had brought up. I think that whole propane issue kind of brought to light. And we've talked about this in committees. I think governance has tackled this and finance has tackled this. And so the purpose of this discussion again is so that we can all as a board discuss this at one time. Because in committees, we're not able to do that. We want to tap into the expertise that our board members have, or the members of our community may have that we know. The district may benefit from insights from people in our community on specific issues when we're looking to buy products or services. And we don't want to create a process that hampers our ability to be streamlined. We don't create a bureaucracy that ends up shooting ourselves in the foot in terms of getting the services and goods that we need. And in the governance committee, we'd kind of come to the conclusion that almost nearly all of these contracts come to the board of directors for approval. A lot of the old contracts as they're coming up for renewal, they'll be on the list of contracts that get reviewed in finance. And so it's contingent or incumbent upon board members, if they see something that they think is of interest to them, or they know of a member of the community that might provide insights into the topic of this particular item, that you bring those to the attention of Tim. And we can streamline this by you identify those issues, those things that are of concern to you, and work with Tim to figure out how best to approach it. So rather than set up a formal process for every item, it may be just a matter of hey, let's get our heads together and discuss this.
Well, I think, real quick, because Barbara puts out the list as part of the finance committee report. That usually comes out, how far in advance does that usually go out?
At least a week.
No, I mean, before the contract expires.
90 days.
Yeah, so we at least got 3 months there.
Could we have them put who has been contacted so that when we look at it, we know if there's something missing, possibly.
Yeah.
That would give us an idea.
Sure.
Because if it's only Chet.
Yeah, no, Barbara sends it out to, matter of fact, you want to explain the process that you go through?
Well, explain the one on propane, how that process. I'm joking.
They're just
Okay, so.
The contracts we have are on the list based on the things that they initiated and they're terminating. And every year, every contract is looked at, but not every contract renews every year. Some are longer terms. And it'll say that on the list that I put out. So the ones that come to finance in June will not come up for 90 days if they need to be reviewed, because they're always ahead. That way that managers, it goes out to all the managers first, so that they can look if any of the contracts on the list are within their department or has anything to do with their department. They can respond. They have a compliance form they have to fill out to say whether or not the contract is being worked correctly or they have any issues with it or anything. They have the opportunity to say something about that contract if they're not going to continue it or if they are or not before it comes to finance. And then we have the 90 days even after finance before it actually will be renewed.
Part of that is
Used to be initiated. Who initiates?
Initiates what?
The contract. Who say we need something.
You're talking about like a new contract, Gene?
Yeah, yeah.
New contract
Do you just
usually comes from the department managers. When they identify a new service or something that they need, or a new piece of equipment that might need a service contract or something like that. That's usually where it generates from.
Okay.
So,
It starts there and it goes to administration and then they bring it forward if we get something new.
Right.
And all the new
Now,
ones.
what process do we have to make sure you review it normally? Okay, that's a good start. But if we could, whenever we get requests for renewals, I don't know how you put it in there, but put in who's been contacted about it, because we've got old ex-CEOs that knows even more than Tim, that's retired here, that might have information that would be awesome, might have connections that could help us. I mean, you know,
They're all dead.
no, they're here. There's still some here that,
Here?
so we've got some valuable talent.
Are you talking about other CEOs of other businesses? Is what you're talking about?
That's retired now.
Yeah, gotcha.
Here,
Gotcha.
but still have
Sure.
the knowledge,
Oh,
and maybe
absolutely.
even connections that could give some input and help us out.
Yeah.
So,
But the main concern is there is a procedure in place.
yes.
Yes, there is.
Okay, so that's what we just, I think is the main point. There is a procedure. And it starts ahead of time
Yeah.
before it comes to us.
And the vast majority of the contracts, obviously, that we look at on an annual basis are ongoing contracts that we have for services that we're providing and stuff like that. You know, again, obviously, new contracts we bring forth to the board anyway. You know, so, you know, obviously, we strongly encourage the board when we get those lists each month when they come out, is to obviously look at that, what's coming up. And if somebody has an expertise that says, hey, have you guys thought about this? Or, you know, maybe here's another venue.
Well,
you might
that's
wanna
the
look at.
thing. It's on us now.
Yeah.
If we're looking at that list and there's something that we think might be of value, we need to pipe up and talk about it.
The new ones do go through Scott too.
Yes,
They're
yes.
usually always reviewed by Scott.
Right. Just
Do
for
we
legal
have to pay
content.
him to review
I think one of the concerns I would have
There's a
is,
Gene premium.
is sometimes things come to us rapidly because they've had to look at them for so long. They've been looking at them for 10 months,
Mhm.
everybody working on them and now, okay, now it says we got a deadline. They need to be signed by the board.
Yeah.
That gets kind of, you know,
Sure.
crushed because then we're not really sure. We're like, okay, we're taking,
Yeah.
you know, whoever.
Well, that's like a good
for it,
example, you know, again, was the radiology contract. You know, again, we talked about it here in committee. Again, we're looking at this, you know, it comes to us beforehand, you know, that we're working on the new agreements and stuff like that, because they don't come together quickly.
Well, I was
This is
thinking
the
about the
language.
last one was through the pharmacy.
Which one was that? Oh, Pyxis, yeah.
Yeah.
But the issue with Pyxis is it's an existing piece of equipment that we have. The company has got a new model they're bringing out and they're swapping out all of the old equipment for new
Right.
equipment. So
But the day it
That's-
came to board was the day it was due,
The deadline.
the deadline.
was it, yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
we
so-
aren't aware that they've given us a hard and fast deadline until we even see it. So,
Well, they had said they'd been talking about it for up to 10 months.
and that's the trouble, it's in pharmacy and stuff like that.
And so then it came here and it's like, well, we, you know, so
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, and of course, that was the day I was leaving finance. Thank you very much.
You know, and
So-
to be honest, on some of those too, like I said, when stuff comes down like that, we've pushed back and said, no, we're not gonna sign it right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we, obviously it's something critical to our performance, because like I said, you know, we can always sit down and say,
Well,
listen,
and-
we have
and-
equipment that's working, it's
We
not
did, we
broken.
did have that option, but it was gonna be at a charge. And I wasn't willing to pay that extra.
Lower service agreement.
Yeah,
Right,
like in lower
right,
one.
that's the other
So,
thing,
but I mean, as long as there's a process in
Yeah.
place, I think that's what Gene
And
wants, that there's.
we all, as board members, we need to know, we need to ask and
Yeah.
and be aware that there are people that can help.
You bet.
Well, that's the thing, you know, with our little district and our people that are working as hard that they can to do the right thing, but they can't know everything there is to know. They just can't. And
Just me.
yeah.
That's right. So I think in that process, listening to Gene, what he would like to know is who's initiating it and who's saying, okay, let's do it before it comes.
Who's been consulted?
Yeah,
you know.
and but from here going forward, we know that, but we're talking about things that happened in the past. We're not always gonna know that. We just need to
Yeah.
move forward.
And
with
that whole propane thing, it's such an oddball thing because there's not even a contract.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
It's
just,
just the pricing agreement.
yeah.
But whenever he looks at every check that, and I do too, you know, you're well aware. And we shouldn't sign a check that doesn't have a contract. Yeah, there should be a process, but that's something that doesn't happen and it's not,
But I think the process is there and that's gonna change, so. So I don't have.
Fred, John, any comments?
Speaking is.
No, none for me, Ross. I think we've kind of beaten this one to death.
Okay, all right.
Agree.
Okay,
I listened in on finance. I'm in concurrence with what the other board members feel about it.
all right. Did you want to?
I was just gonna say, but as a manager, there's basically two processes. There's processes for existing contracts that are rolling over, which is what Barbara's referring to. And then there's a separate process for something that's completely new.
Yeah. And those, as board members, we have the ability to say, wait, I got questions on that.
And we put the this one on hold for about 9 months.
Yeah.
Cool. It's not earth shattering, but we just need to all be.
We have not moved forward. So anyway, if there's nothing else, I got one thing else I'd like to read.
Okay. I've got
I just
item
said
4, but.
Oh, sorry. One more. Oh, wait.
Okay.
I'll hold it.
All right. So item 4 is proposed CEO performance goals for next year, the rating period. And what you have in front of you is simply a rough draft. This is a starting point. The purpose of, in my mind, the purpose of establishing performance goals is this is what we want to see Tim accomplish in the upcoming year. So if it's important to you, it needs to be on this list.
Is there any way that we could have a meeting, just like our board meeting, where everybody's involved, where we can communicate back and forth with rather than not communicating? Because we can't communicate unless it's this type of meeting.
I know.
Correct.
So we need to do it in the open and see what Tim's response to what we want and how he would handle it. So we're clear and we see and talk about, discuss what we can do to improve or make it better or more revenue. Can we schedule one meeting a year to go over that? Just that.
We can.
You can
We
call
can do a
board
special meeting, yeah. I had hoped that we could have this discussion tonight. Go over each of these drafts, each of the ones that are, just in a
Well,
draft
but
form.
But the board members didn't get a chance. We got them yesterday or today.
Yeah, and
It's not something that we can't put off.
we can delay action.
Can we
Yeah.
put that up to at least next month?
Yeah, we can.
And then maybe you could look at having a special board meeting too. So we all communicate, we all know, and we don't holler at him for not doing something that I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do.
So, but do you still want to discuss this part tonight as potential goals?
I'd
right?
like to,
Okay.
if there's value in that. I don't want to waste your time, but I'd kind of like to review these and
Then
keep in
let's
mind,
review it.
these are simply a draft. This is a first draft.
Thanks for
that-
coming.
Is that the last page in this thing?
Yeah.
It's the last page in your packet, the big packet. Not that one.
Oh, that's sucky.
Yep, right there.
Yours has got red all over it. Or no, yours don't. Never mind.
Okay, so first one would be continue efforts to increase the skilled nursing patient census. Increase census by 10 patients by next January, so 6 months out or 7 months out. Maintain financial viability of the unit and ensure operations become a profit center for the district. And feel free to pipe in. I don't want you to be hamstrung with a goal that can't be achieved. So
I'll be honest with you. I'm reticent about having any kind of a goal that says you will hit X number of patients. It's like, as we've learned, it's not in our control in many respects. I think as long as we're creating a mechanism whereby we assure that we're capturing this every possible admission that we can, I'm more interested in those kinds of things. And I'll be honest, these are things that were very common when I worked in for-profit hospital systems because everything was target oriented.
And you got to be measuring.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, there is that aspect of it.
Yeah.
10's a huge increase. And it's, like I said, it's, the big issue for us has been, do we have the staff to even handle that load? And so the CNA program is certainly helping that. like I said, tonight we passed the salary improvement program for the CNAs and the LVNs, which hopefully will help us hold on to what we've got, allow us to hire more of the ones we just trained, and so forth, and hopefully recruit more. And so again, I think if those things happen, then yeah, we probably can hit this.
So let me ask you a question then. To admit 10 people over the next 6 months, what is that? 3 staff members? 2 staff members?
Probably, yeah,
1 LVN?
round the clock, because
and
one person is 4.2 FTEs
Right.
per week, right?
So you're looking at an LVN for meds probably, 1 or 2 CNAs?
Mhm.
So, okay. I mean, because I just want people to understand that, yeah, we say 10, but we're not talking another 8 employees.
No,
We're
no,
talking,
absolutely not.
the minimum employees would cover that. Okay,
And some of this may be coverable with the staff that we have.
that we have, correct.
Because there may be excess capacity and stuff.
Right. So, I mean, and so maybe if you can look at how many could we admit with the staff we have today? 2?
Yeah, we can certainly do that.
That would give us something to look at
Yeah.
and to know. So that.
And what we may want to do is create like a quarterly goal or something like that. It doesn't have to be one thing that we do this, because I've had that done before. So
Okay.
build towards that, that we set, like we want to see like 2 or 3 more patients in the next quarter, which then, and here's the staff requirements associated with doing that or whatever. So, I mean, we can get to that level of detail. I don't we get it tonight, but clearly that would be of interest to me to see something like that.
Okay.
And I think, because, Marks and Sally are the ones that have got to go out and find these folks and make that happen. So,
Find the folks as fine for the staffing?
yeah, well, both the staffing and the patient.
Okay, so who is responsible for finding the patients then?
That falls mostly on Sally and our social services staff.
Okay.
They work hand in hand with the discharge planners from Bakersfield.
Okay, so that stuff goes through social services,
right.
and then the paperwork is sent, and then it's taken to the Mark or to Sally to say approve or
And she
disapprove.
reviews those with the medical director. to make
Okay.
sure that they're okay.
The medical director is the biggest, one of the biggest hindrances there. Especially over the last year, we were hindered quite a bit for admissions.
Were they admissions we couldn't handle? We weren't
It
licensed?
was based on COVID. It was based on COVID.
Okay,
So for the last year, we have been handcuffed.
okay, so
So
without
I'm
COVID being
hopeful, I'm
yeah.
hopeful that we'll get some more admissions coming through, yes.
Okay.
Right.
And so when you talk about the medical director, because he would be the one following those patients, correct?
It's not him. He's not the medical director.
No.
Yeah,
I
it's
said
actually,
whoever
it's
the medical
actually-
director is.
Yeah.
right.
If he says no, it's because he really,
Yeah,
whether it's
he's-
COVID or not, he would be the one following those patients.
Correct.
Yes.
What Mark or whoever, a referral fee from the nurses, is that legal? Could we do that? Because people, the nurses, everybody here.
People go to jail for that. So.
Yeah. It's called payola.
Huge.
Totally over.
Federal violation.
Well, let's not do it.
Okay, thank you for the answers.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 2, expand CNA training program to enroll at least 16 students. Then fiscal year 21-22. Present proposals to the board to attract and retain CNAs.
So and is 16 normally what we have in a class?
That's too many. They can't have that many
Okay, so what is the?
based on Title 22, and I'd have to look
Okay.
at Title 22 to see.
Wasn't that 8 Mark or something
This
like that?
last
I think it was
class, we
8.
had
It was-
11.
We have 11. That's
We had 11.
At
this
11 in
last
the
class.
last class.
This
Okay,
doesn't mean all at one time. It just
No,
means
this
over the
means,
next year.
yes, correct. Yeah.
right, no, I just was wanting to make sure that, if it's gonna take 2 or 3 classes or
Yeah.
whatever, so, okay, so
It will take a couple.
it's 16
A lot of it's gonna depend on
doable,
how
Mark?
many
You
people
think 16's doable?
We just sent another RN to the DSD program. The current DSD that's teaching the CNA program, her last class will be the next one in October, I believe.
Okay.
She's 80 years old and I don't think she
Oh.
wants to do it any further. But we do look at having Vanessa
Okay,
doing the next program.
okay,
So we're excited to see how she's going to do.
okay,
And so I think 16 in the next year is probably doable, yes.
okay.
Are you talking about how many students we can train or
Yes.
how many trained students we can hire? That's a different story.
Enrolled students.
Enrolled students is all we're talking about right now.
We can get enrolled students at 16, yes.
Okay,
But if I could tell you that out of the 11 that we had graduated or that we had enrolled in this program, I think and they're taking their test, I think this week, yeah? Heidi?
They took it last week. yeah.
Oh, they took it last week. I was on vacation, sorry. But I don't know that we're gonna get 11 CNAs from that program. Let me say it that way.
okay, but with the way the question is written, we're talking about at least 16 students. You can get that.
We can get them enrolled in the program, yeah.
Okay, we would like to.
Especially if it's, if there's an incentive that it's not a minimum wage position that they're
That's a
applying
great
for.
point.
That's a good
Like I said,
point.
now you've got something else
Hopefully
to
we've
attract
got,
them.
yeah,
Okay.
hopefully the action's taken tonight.
I just-
We'll move that.
I ask these
Absolutely.
questions because I want to make sure that Tim, for one, and Mark, that you guys are saying, okay, yeah, this is something we can meet. I don't want to.
We can absolutely do that, I think, yes.
I don't want to put goals out there and set you guys
Yeah,
up to fail because that's not going to make us look
I
good. And
probably wouldn't
then,
agree to them.
yeah, well, I don't know.
Oh, we need to hear that these.
Well,
are
and that's,
feasible.
like I said,
Yeah.
you know, there's two schools of thought on that. One is obviously most other organizations that have these kind of gold programs in place is because they have a bonus program in place that you have to hit that number in order to qualify for the bonus and so forth. That isn't the situation for us.
Right.
You know, and like I said, it's like your strategic plan. These are strategies and action items we want to see happen. You
Right,
know, and it's like I said, things come up, COVID came up that
right.
really wiped a ton of things out.
Well,
You know,
and
so
there's-
you just don't know, but obviously, these are things for us to focus our attention on, and obviously, we want to do everything we can to try and hit these numbers.
well, and there's
That's
also
the-
students that are going to take the course that are going to go, not
Yes,
for
true.
me,
Yeah.
you know?
We've had that happen.
But then there's other CNAs already out there that hopefully we can get to come to work also.
True.
So, okay.
Tim, one
Sorry,
thing,
just
all the
taking over your
meetings I
stuff.
go to where you're CNA training.
Yeah.
They say, oh, they're overworking, underpaid. You know,
You just
some
fixed that
people
tonight.
feel productive
Yeah.
working. They love performing.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not overworked if they feel that way. So we can't say that they're, you know what I'm saying, it's sort of negative.
Yeah, you know.
It's a hard job.
It is a hard job, and I've made that very
Some people
clear.
like that
Yes.
type of
Some
thing.
people like,
We've got one CNA back there that's been there over 20 years, you know, and loves it, absolutely loves it, you know? And it's just a
And-
passion for her,
and there's-
caring for elderly.
So
you
let's
know?
try to stop telling people
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
a
no.
hard job. You know,
No,
but they will tell you it is a hard job.
sure.
But I think some of them stay with retention because that 4 days a week is very nice.
But the other issue, like
You
I
know,
said.
and then they're off
is,
3.
Like I said, these, is we recognize this is a hard job.
It is.
And we were paying them basically minimum wage. So if I can make that same money by working for Burger King, why wouldn't I do that? You know, why put yourself
because
through
you're
this
helping
unless you
people
really
working
were.
with them. There's people that like things like that.
Absolutely, there are some. But the point is like I said, if we're trying to attract more people to do this and help us get more patients in here because of the staff needs.
I would say based on the nursing shortages, there are fewer and fewer people willing to work in
Yeah.
this position,
Yeah.
whether they're a CNA, LVN, or RN,
Right.
that are willing to go that extra mile. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, you're right.
it's going away.
Well, and
And-
the incentive for them is because it's a step to LVN RN. So if that's what
Yes.
something they want for their career,
You bet.
they're more.
They're the ones that are
willing to do
coming,
the work.
those are the ones you
Right.
really want to
Yeah.
get, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, item
Sorry.
3, over the next 3 years, implement all of the strategic objectives from the district's strategic plan, and they're listed here. Keep the board informed regarding specific actions, progress, obstacles, and overall status of implementation. You've been doing that with that spreadsheet you put together. That's a good tool. Questions or comments on that one? Is that doable for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it had to be performed within 1 year. What you,
Well,
Our strategic plan was a 3-year.
yeah, we can't say
strategic
complete
plan, so.
the strategic plan in 1 year, even though we created it for 3, so.
Yeah.
You know, we could get real detailed in this.
Well, and the other issue
No,
too,
but-
just to bring it up for discussion purposes, okay, is we also said as part of that strategic planning process, while these sound like great ideas when we're sitting around a room for a couple of days, when you actually get out and research them and find out this isn't gonna work for us or whatever.
It's not gonna be.
So to say that we're gonna get all of those objectives done is maybe not feasible, okay? To the extent that we can maximize the number of those things and get as many positive hits for the district, that's my issue. I just wanna make sure, why don't we put it out here as a goal, you know, but we understand, I wanna go back and say, well, you didn't do your job because you didn't get all of them done. You know, that's not realistic, so.
maybe you could report on 12, I had 12, if we had 12, report on 1 each month and say I accomplished it. And don't report if you don't accomplish and don't show back up.
I think accomplishing and addressing are very different terms.
Yeah.
And so if we address something and decide that there's a different way to do this or a better way to do this, maybe that's the strategic plan needs to be altered to reflect that.
And that's why we have the process of bringing it back to governance where we review these and stuff anyway, or back to the board. You know, if there's something that we just governance decide, yeah, let's bring this to the board to talk about.
We've
We certainly
looked at
do.
it, we've addressed it.
Yeah.
And, you know, this one isn't feasible. We can't move forward with it.
Right.
But that, you've done your job.
Yes.
Okay, number 4, appropriately manage district operations to maintain or increase revenue and keep the district financially solvent. Ensure our financial obligations and valid invoices are paid timely, appropriately manage cash flow, and avoid stretching vendor payments over multiple months unless the vendor has agreed to such delayed payment arrangements. Inform the board of any instances where vendor payments are delayed 45 days late or more. We may need to address that number because of cash flow management decisions. No instances of late fees being imposed on credit cards. Expand services consistent with strategic plan objectives to increase and create new sources of net revenue.
Mhm.
Do you want to say anything more specific in terms of revenue? Are there things that you want this tweaked at all to?
You know, the rural hospitals are all a little different. We have the best of everything here, right here, because somebody has to really want to not be here in order to not come to this hospital because they got to go to Ridgecrest or Bakersfield. And so we have every opportunity to be the best hospital, a little diamond here in our valley. And we just need to find a way to get that in there to where the more people increase. This guy over here has increased us. This guy right there has done an awesome job in increasing the revenue, and people love our clinic, in which we're connected to the clinic. And so he has helped our image so much. And so we need, if Deb could do a survey image that we could, I know that sounds a little,
That was actually one of the strategic objectives of.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
There's,
to
but
improve
we,
that stuff.
the better image, the better chance of more revenue.
Sure.
So,
That first strategic objective, enhance community trust in our services. Remember all of
well,
all of
that
those
increases
things.
revenue without
Right.
saying increase revenue. It does.
Yeah.
You bet.
And people do business with people who want to do business with.
Yeah.
You gotta show them we want them to come here.
Yeah.
And they'll come. So, but,
All right.
and Deb, I think Debbie's doing major good job on that.
So, you know, 3 or 4 times tonight and previously, you've talked about revenue, bringing in more revenue. And so I want you, if you can give this number forward with some thought?
Okay.
Or what do you want to say in words that he can follow of what you want to see accomplished over the next year?
Increase every revenue.
Well, take time to think
source.
about it.
Every
and then you-
revenue source that we've got should be increased. Pharmacy is one example. There is no reason why we can't have a committee. I'm not sure about a committee, but the pharmacist, a board member or two, I think could be on there. People from the public and get input on what we need to do, what they want. And a few of you said, we don't care about the pharmacy. Well, get rid of it if we're not going to operate it properly. So we need to do a better job. Okay, that's an example. Increase each line.
It's on my agenda for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, I know, you're getting, Tim, you're getting it started and we owe the community, we need to do it.
Don't disagree with you at all.
Okay.
I really don't.
All right, so every line, including surgery is going to be going away. The non-invasive surgery is it's just taken over. And with the technology now, pretty soon, they won't even have to be non-invasive. They can do it without even breaking your skin. So we're spitting in the wind having a surgery department unless we absolutely have to. Or lease it out or do it once a month or just get rid of the expense. Things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Good input, thanks.
Okay.
Number 5, continue that. Yes.
Well, I was just gonna say, my only input on number 4, just real quick, the third bullet point, which is consistent with the strategic plan, was the med surge. I don't know if Gene, if that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
That's the one department that's always been a concern. So we just have to figure out what to
do
about that.
Can't keep going.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item 5, continue efforts to achieve seismic construction standards compliance and refurbish the hospital's aging infrastructure.
On that one, I would like to see us try to get an exemption from that and still improve the hospital. But we're in the lowest earthquake area where everything says it's pure stupid to do what they're doing. I know Oshkosh is stupid, apparently, but we could at least try.
This was actually the
to get an exemption.
legislature. This wasn't Oshkosh. Legislature passed that.
Sacramento.
Oshkosh had to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, and when you look at the construction going on at the dam, there's reasons that they're putting this type of stuff on us, because they were worried about the dam and problems with earthquakes, the 100-year or whatever. So
We've got one room in that emergency room, and the chances of it having a problem is.
So we've got achieving the seismic construction standards compliance. That's a small part of our building plan.
Oh, yeah. We
it's $1 million out of the 19 million or whatever. It's not that big of a deal for us, but it's the whole rebuilding of the crumbling infrastructure is what we need to accomplish.
If we had a master plan, but we did it our own, a step at a time, we wouldn't have all those extra expenses. But that's a whole different, and I'm making Bob pull his hair out.
So the basis of this goal is basically, hey, let's get all the approvals we need, plans in hand, to begin construction by next July.
And there are continued efforts going on legislatively. This is where the advocacy issue comes in. You're absolutely correct with your first comment. And, yes, JJ is still working to try and find some means to get hospitals excluded from these or modified plans or whatever. And obviously, we're going to continue to do everything we can.
We still want to improve it, make it feel so warm and so good inside.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, as we've discussed numerous times before, there are some things that, again, that we have to upgrade because we've got a 50-year-old building, no matter what they do.
Continued upgrade would be a good word for it rather than seismic.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, seismic construction, I mean, while we have to meet those construction standards, I mean, what we're really doing is more than that. We're going beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
Just-
Well, right, and it's here, the refurbish the hospital's
Right.
aging,
There you go.
so that's on here.
I have a little challenge with the date of July next year. We can't control Oshkosh's land review time.
Well, we can submit, we can certainly have our submittal in by then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's doable. We can't control the state.
Not starting, that's not possible.
Right.
Yeah, and
Well, this is,
from
again, this is draft, so we're modified language and stuff like that, but that's good feedback. It's good
We
feedback.
can't meet this next July.
Yeah.
if stuff happens to us that's out of our control, then we use our common sense.
Yeah.
What, as a board member, what I want to see is that we've done everything we can to meet that.
Well, the goal is to get the plans complete and get it submitted.
Yeah.
And they will probably be in plan review.
But things like the acute care, you don't feel warm and fuzzy when you go in there. And most hospitals do.
Well,
And
if
so
you
we're
felt
waiting.
warm and
If
fuzzy,
we're-
you wouldn't be in
And
there.
if we're waiting on the construction, we should do at least some painting and some things.
Well, as you know, we have. I mean, I remember you coming into my office saying, this looks beautiful. What a great job the new coat of paint
Some of
does,
that
new
paint was
flooring.
just-
So yeah, you're right. I mean, I would love, as an interim step, let's get in and repaint the rooms. I mean, if we have
Right,
time.
right,
You
right.
know, I would love to get rid of that
Yeah.
border ceiling around the rooms there that looks like it's from 19 or 18,
Yeah, right.
whatever. I mean, there's certainly things we can start to modernize a little bit in the meantime while we're doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, but, we'll continue to obviously do those kinds of things. Right now, we're in the clinic, doing the clinics, rooms and painting those and so forth. So that's progressing. Last thing we've got over there to do is the cabinets.
We'll probably actually start on some patient rooms probably in the next several weeks.
Yeah, cool, because it's so important, because once in a while I visit somebody that is sick in there that I know, and it's not as good as it could be.
No. And we talked about, again, earlier today too, we talked about the beds. And I think Dr. Finstead was talking about it in his report. Again, that the new beds and stuff like that have much better protections for the patients and so forth for falls and those kinds of things. Mark's been in a process of trying to get a number of beds. We're trying to do those slowly, to ultimately, migrate the old beds out of here. And so.
We just approved purchase of 6 new beds, 2 for the acute care and 4 for the skilled nursing facility.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on those to show up. The auxiliary has approved the purchase of those.
Yeah.
Mark, could that couple falls, I think it was 2 falls, be caused by Chet from when they get the bill and just sort of stumble?
Luckily, that's not done in hospital. That's done outside.
Was that a question, Gene, or was that just a comment?
You place the order and you have to wait for the manufacturer.
That was an attempt at humor, that didn't work.
Yeah, they don't even have.
I think
inventory
Gene's getting
anymore.
punchy. I'll move along. Okay. Number 6, continue advocacy efforts to protect and enhance the hospital and our services. That one's kind of nebulous. It's not really measurable.
I can show
but
evidence.
It's certainly important.
Done. Yeah, I mean, that can be done.
Number 7, continue efforts to reduce employee-related expenses by reducing employee injuries and their related expenses to the hospital or to the district, as well as reducing associated legal/liability expenditures. Build a culture of collaboration and responsiveness within the Human Resources Department to ensure issues identified by employees are appropriately acted upon. This was kind of carryover from a prior year. I don't know if it's still a priority of.
Well, as we shared earlier, we just cut $167,000 out of our, $162,000 out of our workers' comp costs. So, I mean, clearly that's worked. And it's something we just need to continue to strive for. I mean, so I'm fine with that being there again.
And Ross, it's a given. When you see your XMOD drop to what we're looking at and you understand how the XMOD system works, they're doing a good job with it.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Insurance Man. Okay, number 8, continue to provide periodic information briefings to all board members on important matters. These briefings may be in the form of group email transmissions, provided the board maintains compliance with the Brown Act. And then 9, maintain compliance with myriad of laws, regulations, and quality standards applicable to the district's operations. Strive to maintain or increase 3-star ratings for the hospital and skilled nursing facility.
Amen.
Again, this is a first draft. If there are things that you want to add on here, then let's do that. Let's modify these. Yeah.
I think number 10, can we put on there like in other things and say all other duties as assigned?
Yeah.
Well, that's job description, not goals. I would hope that would be part of
Could we
it.
get Tim?
Anything else the board decides on as we move
Right?
forward.
Absolutely.
Could we get Tim to give us a list of what he thinks should be on there?
I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
And I don't know if this can be done, but I understand, Tim, that you're sending out emails to the staff. Is that something we can be put on?
Yeah.
Just kind of out of,
Yeah.
curiosity and
Yeah.
stuff, because I've heard good things about that.
You betcha.
So, okay,
Are you,
I'll actually be filming one tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
nice.
I usually set them up the day after the board meeting. So tomorrow we get to talk about the increases for the nursing salaries and stuff like that. So that'll be a nice one to have. So
Perfect.
so can you add to this or take away or?
yeah.
Just his own thoughts. They don't even have to be related to that. Just
Absolutely.
maybe something we could.
Yeah, and what are the things that you think are really important that need to get done next year?
Yeah, one of the things, like I said, when I was, doing these for some of the other corporations I worked for, what we did was we had the general goals and stuff like that. And then usually what we try to do was to put 1 or 2 personal goals in there that, again, either achieve some increased education or whatever, or some personal health goal that you wanted to see yourself strive for to improve, lose weight, whatever. Just, obviously to help, you do your job better. I mean, there's things like that I've been thinking about, obviously, a lot lately. And so, maybe I'll try to come up with 1 or 2 of those that we could add in on top of these as Weber.
Okay.
Good, but then these are, like I said, I think these are really kind of broad spectrum, kind of all the various areas that, we've dealt with and so forth. So, I mean, those are great goals. Clearly we could have more specific things underneath those, as we kind of flesh those out a little bit more. Certainly.
So Ross, can we within 2 weeks, make our notes or whatever and then submit everything back to you?
That's kind of the next step. How do you want to do that? Do we bring them back verbally, to our next meeting? Do you give them to Heidi and she can incorporate it maybe into a master list?
Could we put it on the agenda for building and planning sometime we don't take up too much time? And right now, maybe that's the time when the whole board's together and we could discuss things together. Would that go on the agenda for building and planning?
We can.
Okay, well, that would be a time.
It's board committee, so.
Right, because it's not one that, normally we don't run over unless, well, it could be.
Okay.
But I would say put it on there for us all to look at what we have all put in there.
All right.
Or consider, including what Tim thinks should be on there.
Okay.
Not us.
So changes that you want to see to this list, then get them to Heidi a week before the building and planning.
Yeah, it's about,
At least.
about 2.5 weeks, yeah.
And then we can discuss what it is. It's
right. Right. And that'll give us another shot to finalize these. If we're not done, then we carry it over to the next.
So we're all pulling together for the same thing.
Yeah.
We're not just beating him
It's 2
with
weeks too long. It's not too long, but could we do by the 18th?
Okay, by June 18th.
Compiled and get the agenda out.
Yeah.
Your comments, edits, additions, changes by June 18th.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes. Could you send us an email
To Heidi.
before if we don't do it?
I will harass you about it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And, keeping in mind the evaluations we did for Tim and the board evaluations you did, and everybody blew past the deadline. So put June 15th on your calendar.
I was just gonna say, what really is the 15th.
To get them into hiding
Yeah.
this year, right?
Yes, this year.
I always wait to see which number I am. So I know if I'm really
As long
late
as
or
you're
not.
not last. you're
Right.
good.
So thank
All
you
right.
to everybody so far.
Thank you. Good discussion. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I think it's important stuff. Tim, you had.
I have one last thing. I thinking about it, from our presentations and stuff, and building and planning the other day, Mark read or played a recording that we received from one of our patients regarding care that was provided to his wife. And so I wanted to do was hopefully, again, as we get these in, I want to bring them here and share them because again, the public can hear these, they're recorded for the public and so forth. So I've got one tonight that I wanted to read. And this was, I'm out of privacy issues, not going to read his name. But again, it's just as I'm writing to commend Chrissy at the front desk. This is a Mountain View Health Center. Rocio Oliveras, the assistant, and especially PA Miranda Everett at Mountain View Clinic. I try to visit the clinic as little as possible, yet Chrissy greets me as a friend and always answers my questions quickly and in a nice, polite manner. Rocio Oliveras is an excellent employee. She gets things done quickly, but doesn't make you feel hurried. She's thorough in asking details about problems and in checking meds and extremely helpful all the time. Miranda Everett, despite her title as PA, is my doctor. Being an active 59-year-old man, I have had a few doctors in my life, and none of them come close to the level of knowledge and care I received from Ms. Everett. She is upfront and direct, never hurries through my appointments. She is proactive in addressing my health problems and gives me a feeling of trust. I'm grateful to have these employees helping me with my health problems. Signed, David. So anyway, that's, I thought it would be nice if, ending our board meeting with something positive like that, is great, to kind of refocus on why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing and so forth. So as I get those, I'll try to make sure we bring them to the board.
That's great feedback and information. That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
They're it's awesome. The whole hospital is awesome. We just gotta, everybody, invite everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Greg's got a great team over there, obviously, as we've seen from the volumes that have been generated. So
that's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we are to director's comments on items not appearing on the agenda. Well, let's start with our Zoom partners. Director Blythe, do you have any comments?
I don't have anything else, Ross. Nothing that comes to the top of my head, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, Director Clark.
Looking forward to when we can all sit down together and enjoy the company of one another and continue to do what we do, Ross.
Thanks, Fred. Director Parks.
Oh, I have done so much talking tonight, and I appreciate Tim, and it's an effort for the hospital. I'm not trying to get my heart. So thank you, Tim.
You're welcome. Thanks, Gene. Director O'Connor.
I don't have anything. I think I've expressed everything I can today. So, but just, again, I just appreciate being on the board. I don't know. I mean, I tell people that too, that it's, I just appreciate being on here. It's kind of wacky, I know, but I know. So I'm glad I'm here.
You're welcome.
We're glad you're here too.
Yeah, some of us are.
But we think the same thing, so don't worry.
No, this is a good group. We challenge each other, and I think that's healthy. It's good to share your concerns, and I'm glad to be part of this. I had a whole list of things I wanted to go over, but I've spoken enough tonight too, and I don't think anybody wants to hear them. So I'll save it for another day. I think this is a terrific organization. I thank so much our staff and our managers. that all make this happen. We're doing good things. Please keep up the great work. And we'll reconvene in a month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.